Namateba Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Sunyavari Pashkatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadadara Shivasari Gora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Manunatha Maharaja Hare Krishna, everyone.
All right, Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Yamuna. Okay, so I guess we'll just go ahead and start. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya yato nvayaditaratascha svavigyasvarat tene brahma hridaya dikavaye muyanti yatsurayaha tejovari mridam yata vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sada nirastakuhakam satyam param Dimahi Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tojayamudiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhakti rubhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay. So today we're continuing with the second canto, third chapter, verses 2 through 7. This chapter 3, is called Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. Maybe I'll just start with the first verse and then see how long that takes, because I don't know if I read the Sanskrit for everything. Brahmavarachasa kamastu yajeta brahmanaha patim indram indriya kamastu prajakamaha prajapatin devim mayam tu sri kamas tejas kamo vibhavasam vasu kamo vasum rudran virya kamo taviryavan anadya kamastvaditim svarga kamo dite he sutan visvandevan raja kamaha sadyan samsadako visam ayushkamo svinau devau pushtikama ilam yajet pratishtha kamaha purusho rodasi lokamatarau Rupabhikamo Gandharvan Srikamo Sara Urvasim Adhipatya Kamaha Sarvesham Yajeta Parameshtinam Yagyam Yajed Yasas Kamaha Kosa Kamaha Prachetasam Vidya Kamastu Girisam Dampatyat Dampatyartha Umam Satim. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And just a reminder, we're on Canto 2, Chapter 3, verses 2 through 7. Okay, translation. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king Indra, and one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grains should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planets should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Visvadeva. And one who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Aswini Kumaras. And a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvasi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires the domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. Purport. There are different modes of worship for different persons desiring success in particular subjects. The conditioned soul living within the purview of the material world cannot be an expert in every type of materially enjoyable asset, but one can have considerable influence over a particular matter by worshiping a particular demigod, as mentioned above. Ravana was made a very powerful man by worshiping Lord Shiva, and he used to offer severed heads to please Lord Shiva. He became so powerful by the grace of Lord Shiva that all the demigods were afraid of him, until he at last challenged the personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, and thus ruined himself. In other words, all such persons who aspire after gaining some or all of the material objects of enjoyment, or the gross materialistic persons, are on the whole less intelligent, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 7.20. It is said there that those who are bereft of all good sense, or those whose intelligence is withdrawn by the deluding energy of Maya, aspire to achieve all sorts of material enjoyment in life by pleasing the various demigods, or by advancing in material civilization under the heading of scientific progress. The real problem of life in the material world is to solve the question of birth, death, old age, and disease. No one wants to change his birthright. No one wants to meet death. No one wants to be old or invalid, and no one wants diseases. But these problems are solved neither by the grace of any demigod, nor by the so-called advancement of material science. In the Bhagavad Gita, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, such less intelligent persons have been described as devoid of all good sense. Shukadeva Goswami said that out of the 8,400,000 species of living entities, the human form of life is rare and valuable. And out of those rare human beings, those who are conscious of the material problems are rarer still. And the still more rare persons are those who are conscious of the value of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains the messages of the Lord and his pure devotees. Death is inevitable for everyone, intelligent or foolish, but Parikshit Maharaj has been addressed by the Goswami as the Manishi, or the man of highly developed intelligence, or the man of highly developed mind, because at the time of death, he left all material enjoyment and completely surrendered unto the lotus feet of the Lord by hearing his messages from the right person, Shukadeva Goswami. But aspirations for material enjoyment by endeavoring persons are condemned. Such aspirations are something like the intoxication of the degraded human society. Intelligent persons should try to avoid these aspirations and seek instead the permanent life by returning home back to Godhead. I won't read the entire translation again because today was a bit long. Maybe I'll just read the last sentence, that if one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good marital relation, he should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. Okay. So, well, just to start off, I think that we've entered a really nice chapter. Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. It just, when I was reading the chapter, seeing where we were at, when I read the title, I got really excited because I think that definitely early on in our devotional service, in our Krishna conscious life, that this is kind of the pivot that'll help us in our Krishna consciousness, is that right now our heart is wanting material things, and we're so accustomed and habituated to wanting material things that, at least, speaking personally, and for a lot of, if we can just kind of observe ourselves and see what things come about in our mind, what kind of memories we have, or what kind of attachments that we're drawn to, many times we can see that it can be material, that something's material, meaning that our heart is still even though we're practicing spiritual life and we're really trying to be Krishna conscious, our heart is still wanting something different from Krishna, that there's still something there in our heart that's kind of turning us away from Krishna. And so to help us in that, the real change is when there's a change in our heart, that in our heart we start feeling more and more that we want Krishna, that I don't want this material thing. I want Krishna. I want to think about Krishna. I want to be around Krishna's devotees. I want to serve them. I want to have these qualities that we're supposed to have, like humility, tolerance. In the material world, um, those aren't really celebrated that much. If you look at who's famous in the world, usually they're not very humble, or they're not very tolerant. There might be someone who's very rich, or someone who's very intelligent, or someone who's very beautiful. Those are the kinds of people that usually, if you look on social media or the news, those are the kinds of people, the personalities that the world worships, that the world talks about. That, oh, such and such, this actor is so beautiful, or so and so, they're so smart. Look how much money they can make, and look how good at business they are. So those kind of qualities um, are there in the materialistic sense. And so when we talk about humility or being compassionate or being tolerant, um, from a materialistic sense, it's not so celebrated. People aren't being worshipped because of how humble they are, how tolerant they are. And so it can be a process for us to really want to try and embody these qualities that cannot be so easy. Being tolerant, being compassionate, being patient, it's difficult. It's difficult to have these kinds of qualities sometimes, where you're constantly being tested by different things. And so just talking about the change in our heart. So that was I just wanted to bring that about because of the title of the chapter, and how I'm really excited to see what Shukadeva Goswami is going to instruct us and tell us about how what's going to help us change our heart, what's going to help us really want to start wanting Krishna more and more in our daily life, because that's what's going to help us in our spiritual life. That if our heart is in it, um, there's like the English phrase, like, if is your heart in it? And so if your heart isn't in it, then how you can't really get too far in spiritual life, because my heart's not in it. I might be doing it, I might be going through the motions, I might be attending the classes, reading or chanting my japa, but my heart is not fully in it. And so if we continue in that way, gradually, we either may stop practicing Krishna consciousness altogether, or we just continue practicing it, but it becomes ritualistic. There's not real devotion there. It's just a ritual to sit down, chant my japa. It's a ritual to sit down and read. But if we start trying to, but if our heart starts to change, then it's not a ritual. It's actually something that we genuinely like. We really like to read, or we really like to chant our japa. And so, but again, that's the changing of the heart. And for specifically for today's verse, I think it's just very interesting to see that um, that there is a process in a system, that if you want these things, all these things that Shukadeva Goswami mentioned, if you want good fortune, if you want to have a good wife, if you want money, that there's a process. In the past ages, there was a process to get these things, that you actually had to worship a personality, you had to worship a demigod to get these things. It seems like now, that's a question for me. I wonder that if if you think about the people that are rich now or have money, they don't even, especially in the West, they don't even know who the demigods are. We don't have any knowledge of demigods in the West. And so I'm sure that they're not worshiping any demigod. So how is it that they're still accumulating money? Because they're still rich people all over the world, but they're not worshiping the demigods. So how is it that they're still getting money? Or how is it that, I mean, that's just one example of it. I'm
Good
wondering if,
question.
yeah, I'm wondering if it's just like maybe karma. But yeah, I think this is a question that I would put forth. our class next week. So next week, Guru Maharaj will be giving a class. So please ask some questions. We'll also do a reminder at the end of our class today. So there's that there was a process to get these material goals that you might have. There was a system of it, and but ultimately, as Srila Prabhupada is reminding us in the purport, is that really, really trying to dedicate our life, like our entire life, to getting these material aspirations is ultimately like a waste of our time, because it's gonna go away. And so we hear it all the time, that material enjoyment is temporary. But maybe our heart, like we were talking about, our heart doesn't change, and so we still are seeking this material enjoyment, even though we're hearing again and again that it's temporary, that it's really, if someone who's wanting that, they're actually less intelligent. So we hear these things, but we may not have the full realization. So we just have to continue hearing it, continue hearing the message over and over and over again. But on a positive note, let's see. Srila Prabhupada said something very nice. Oh, and this right here. Well, yeah, he's quoting Shukadeva Goswami, where he says that Shukadeva Goswami said that out of the 8,400,000 species of living entities, the human form of life is rare and valuable. So just us being in this human body is already rare and valuable. So just by being in this body, we're already in a very rare and valuable situation without doing anything else. So then, and out of those rare human beings, those who are conscious of the material problems are rarer still. So would we say that, I mean, I think everyone in this call could say that we're conscious, or at least that we're aware of the material problems, right? We know what the material problems are. Bhakta Fabienne, Bhakta Rich. You can just say, like, yes, you can just say, yeah, I know what the material problems are.
Oh, I apologize, Govinda. I was away from my phone. I didn't hear your question.
Oh, I'm seeing right here where it says that Srila Prabhupada is quoting Shukadeva Goswami, where he says that out of those rare human beings, those who are conscious of the material problems are rarer still. So would you say that you're conscious of the material problems?
I would say I'm conscious of the material problems going on in my life. I have a lot of them.
Okay, well, what about like this, the main four that we talk about, that Srila Prabhupada usually talks about, the main four, like birth.
Yeah, I mean, I am. I don't think about it a lot, but I know that I have personal health things going on right now, and my body's not very comfortable. Um, it's not too bad, but yeah, I realize the disease, and that I know eventually I'll leave my body, and I know that from reading the Bhagavatam, birth is very unpleasant. I know that death is unpleasant. I don't know so much about the death part, but from reading the Bhagavatam, the whole process of you know being in the mother's stomach and birth, it's like I wouldn't want to go through that again. From what I read about it.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly right. Because of what we read about it, we have this kind of awareness, this knowledge now. So that because we've taken the time to read these things or hear these things, that puts us already, so we're already in this rare category as being human beings. We're in this rare group of individuals or jivas, by being human beings. And then by being conscious of these material problems, that puts us in an even rarer category because we're conscious. If we just think about the vast majority of the population, they're not even aware that they're going to be born again, or they're not even aware that they're going to be, I mean, maybe there might be an awareness, but for vast majority of people, they're not aware that when they die, they're going to take another body. But us, our good fortune is that we know that we have that kind of knowledge that when we die, when we leave these bodies, we're going to get another body. And so these problems are conscious. We're aware of these. And then finally, And the still more, Srila Prabhupada says, and the still more rare persons are those who are conscious of the value of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which contains the messages of the Lord and his pure devotees. So if we're on the call right now, then there is at least something within us in our heart that's telling us that the Srimad Bhagavatam has value. Or else, why would we be taking time out of our day to come to the Srimad Bhagavatam class? So we recognize there's something in us that recognizes that the Srimad Bhagavatam has value. And so that's like our fortune, that because of the mercy that we've been given, we're part of this select group of jivas who are really trying to live in the best life possible, the highest life consciously, the highest life spiritually, emotionally, physically, everything. Like we're trying to recognize the value of what to do with our life, and we're placed into this category of the most rare persons in basically almost like the universe. We're by us just sitting here talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam, this is placing us um, in a place where we're basically where we're doing like the best, making the best use of our time. That really us sitting here talking about the Srimad Bhagavatam, that this is like the best use of our time that we have. And so Srila Prabhupada is always encouraging us to continue. So just continue coming to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. If you have time, maybe you can read it on your own too. But just trying to always hear the message of Krishna, hear the message of his devotees, that just always encouraging us that this is the best thing that we can do with our life, and then talk about it. So with that, I don't want to take up more time. So if anyone else wants to add anything, then please.
Hare Krishna. Of course, I'd like to add something. This is an incredible text. Um, what strikes me about it is this: we're given like a list of instructions, for this desire you worship this demigod, for that desire you worship the other demigod. We even start right off with the impersonal Brahma Jayoti effulgence. If you're interested in that, what do you worship? And a whole list of all these demigods that that one could worship for all of these individual goals. But at the same time, I think these are, a list. He's giving us a list of things from the Vedas, something, what's been done and what's been done and what's been done and what's been done. But also, at the end, I think we're going to get to the point, which I think might be several texts ahead, but that, really all you need to do is worship the personality of Godhead, and all of these individual desires are taken care of. I mean, this is the list of what one could do, but in this day and age, one does not need to do that anymore. Like in the last post that I put on Facebook from the Bhajana Rahasya, at the end, it says there is no purification that equals the chanting of the holy names. Intelligent people therefore abandon all duties mentioned in the Vedas. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells us this, just, leave everything else behind. And I guess part of this thing, realizing that you don't need to worship all of these demigods, is part of the process of realizing that you don't really even need any of those things that you are praying about or worshiping for. So this is, as in other words, there's the direct route, but there have been all sorts of ways to get there, and let's tell you all about it, and then we'll try to explain why it worked back then, but nowadays we do it a different way, which is a very progressive idea when you think about it. It's like, well, we're going to give you this knowledge that's been preserved and brought to you from, from thousands and thousands of years, or whatever, millions of years. I don't know how many years. But we're going to bring you this information, and then we're going to tell you that in the end result is that you just have to leave the material world and go to the spiritual world through focusing your attention on Krishna, which you can very well do by chanting the Maha Mantra as many times as you possibly can, with japa beads, without japa beads, in kirtan, anyway, in any time, and focusing on the teachings, the stories, the attractiveness of the Lord, because we know when we leave our body, we want to go on. It's not like we want to drop the processes because we don't want to get there. We still want to get there. But in this day and age, the process has been refined in order to make it accessible to all of us. You know, even fallen souls like like those of us who realize that we are less than we thought we were. Having said that, anyone else?
Those are very nice points, and very eloquently spoken, and so yeah, so well thought out. That was very nice. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I don't know if Dr. Rich or Dr. Fabienne, if there's anything you all would like to add, any comments or any questions.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances. Today, which verses you have read? Which?
Yeah, sorry. We're on Canto 2, Chapter 3, text 2 through 7.
Okay. Thank you.
Or if you want, we can, I think maybe this could also be a good time to go to number 8. That way we have enough time to read it and discuss it. Would you want to read it? You can read text 8.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Dharmata uttama shlokam tatu tamban pirtrin yajet raksha kama punya jana ojas kamo marud gana. Translation. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement into knowledge, and for protection or heredity and advancement of a dynasty. One should worship the various demigods. Purport. The path of religion entails making progress on the path of spiritual advancement, ultimately reviving the eternal relation with Lord Vishnu in his impersonal effulgence, his localized Paramatma feature, and ultimately his personal feature by spiritual advancement into knowledge. And one who wants to establish a good dynasty and be happy in the progress of temporary bodily relations should take shelter of the Pitas and the demigods in other pious planets. Such different classes of worshippers of different demigods may ultimately reach the respective planets of those demigods within the universe, but he who reaches the spiritual planets in the Brahmajyoti achieves the highest perfection. Okay. In this verse, It said that if one worship Lord Krishna in his personal aspect, Paramatma or Krishna, his form, his form with the two hands and not for Vishnu. And his effulgent aspect, the Paramatma, not the Paramatma, but Brahmajyoti. Yes, because there are the Mayavadi that definitely they go to the Brahmajyoti because they don't want to live separated by Krishna because sufferings and the other problems that they had in life. So their goal is to go in the Brahmajyoti. The Brahmajyoti is described by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like hell. Yes, but because the jiva can't fulfill his desire, he can play it, stay with Krishna and not jiva. So they stay there in the Brahmajyoti doing nothing and waiting to fall again and the material world. But for the jiva, the persons who want to pray their parents in for their parents in life, they will go in planets where like the Pita, if I don't wrong, with Pita, yes, where there are the parents or the persons who in the past lives indeed to pray Krishna, they prayed their parents. And but there are the devotee, the Krishna devotee that pray every time and in every conditions Krishna, and they return the spiritual world in planets like Krishna Loka or Vaikuntha, the Vaikuntha, where Narayana and Lakshmi are there and are served by the devotee, their devotees. But in the spiritual world, there are many planets of Krishna, where Krishna have another aspect, like Pramana, Varadeva, Nishima, Upendra, and others in their forms. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Veda, the part of the Vedas where is spoken about Krishna, where Vyasadeva talks about Krishna and what regard him. He said that the goal of life, the better thing for the jiva is to return in the spiritual world, and to remain in the material world, birth after birth, enjoying of few material things like food, like eating, sleeping, defending himself. Everyone defend himself and his family and his nation, his religion, etc. but that things are unusual. They don't uh, they don't give real happiness, but they give a few happiness that is mm, a minimum very mm, few. So it's so few that it finish like in 1 second, one few time, very very few. But in the spiritual world, there's always happiness because being in the spiritual planets, the Jiva has his eternal body and he hasn't the material body which is in the material world. So he can feel the happiness that he already has by doing devotional service because the life in the spiritual world is all done by devotional service every time. There's no a moment in which a soul, a jiva, in the spiritual world is not doing devotional service for Krishna. And they serve Krishna, but also the manifestations of Krishna, like trees, outer Gopas, the Gopi, the father of Krishna, mother, and the other entity, the other persons in the spiritual world, the other Jiva. So we can have few happiness in material world if we want to stay in the material world, or if we can't reach the spiritual platform in a life, even if practicing devotional service is more easy to reach the spiritual world, to return to Krishna. So in few life, if someone is practice a devotional service, he can return to God. Because in the moment of death, Krishna tells in the Bhagavad Gita, he will help him or her, the jiva, yes. Yes, and so we should try to accept the practice to practice the bhakti yoga, because bhakti yoga is a method, the spiritual method, which Narada Muni has give to us to purify ourselves, and so purified, totally purified, we can return to Krishna, because how the sages say, if we have even if a few material desires, we can't return to the spiritual world, but we are very very poor, and that's possible practicing in every moment. Yes, every moment should be offered to Krishna and the poor devotees, because it's said by Krishna that he care about his devotee, but he cares more about the devotee of his devotee. Yes, because Krishna is more happy about that, about our service for a poor devotee, because the poor devotee, is very, very dear to Krishna. And by the service that we do to that great soul, or not only to the great soul, but even if we give service to a bhakta, yes, why not? To a bhakta, Krishna is happy because we not only spread Krishna consciousness, but we help the jiva to be more attracted by Krishna, and so the jiva comes to Krishna more easily. See, because if we preach the qualities of Krishna to the devotee, or we talk about Krishna, we think about Krishna, and we do always service for him, and his devotees, his poor devotee or bhakta also, we are very, very dear to him, and by this service we can achieve the position of a poor devotee also, because the poor devotee always talk about Krishna, always think about Krishna, always are always engaged in services for Krishna and the devotee of Krishna, like the Gopi, Radha, Krishna, in the other aspects like regime and other forms. Yes. Yes, it's all. Yeah. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Oh, that was wonderful. Very interesting points that you made. But I just want to go back to the original text for a minute, as we only have a few minutes. Excuse me. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge, and for protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty, one should worship the various demigods. So after in the previous verses having gotten this whole list of things, of demigods to worship, we're given like at the end these last two, because if we go back to Lord Vishnu, and being maybe this source of our spiritual advancement in knowledge, and you say, well, why it says Lord Vishnu, not Krishna? So in other words, we're still a step away from the end. This is still one of the paths along the way. We want knowledge, so let's worship Vishnu. Unless, of course, Vishnu is supposed to mean Krishna here too. That I would have to ask Manonatha Maharaja, but I think, because it's not made no mention by Prabhupada there of Krishna, just about the localized Paramatma feature, which is, of course, Krishna. Okay. So, in any case, then we have the protection of heredity and advancement of a dynasty, worshiping various demigods. Here, we're not given the long list, but just told the same thing again. So, here we're reinforcing this idea that there are different little details that can be taken care of, different, aspects of Godhead, including even Vishnu. But I believe next week we'll be getting to the rounding out or the culmination of this list of various material desires that can be, treated through various worship of various demigods. And so, would you like to say something else about this too, Govinda?
Sure, yeah. thank you first, Dr. Fabian, for sharing all your insights, especially was connecting with the point where you brought up how Lord Chaitanya would call the Brahma, or he explained, I forgot the word he said, but he said that Mahaprabhu said that the Brahma Jyoti is like a hell because there's nothing happening there. There's no suffering, but there's no enjoyment either. You can't do anything there, so it's not really something where you'd want to we can really stay for a long amount of time. And then as far as today's verse, it didn't say in the I was looking at the word for word translations, and it doesn't specify Lord Vishnu or Krishna. It says Uttama Shlokam, which is translated as the Supreme Lord, the persons attached to the Supreme Lord. So I guess in this sense, it could be interchangeable. So it could be Lord Krishna, it could be Lord Vishnu, depending upon um, how we're looking at it. That's about, yeah, I think that's about all. And oh, and just the last point, because we're wrapping up here. It just I just like how Shukadeva Goswami, how he has this kind of way of explaining things where it's similar to Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, where he gives us all this background knowledge, gives us all this, yeah, all the context, I guess. He's talking about all the different demigods that you can worship and the different benefits that come from worshiping a certain demigod. And like Yamuna was saying, I'm sure that in a few verses he's going to conclude, just like in the same way he did in the previous chapter, where he was explaining the whole process of yoga. And you do this, and then you have to meditate on this, and then you go here, and then from there you go here. How Shukadeva Goswami gives us the whole thing, and then he always concludes with Krishna, like devotional service, Krishna consciousness. That he concludes with that, and it's similar to what we see with the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna is explaining to Arjuna the process of spiritual attainment, of how to spiritual perfection, the process for spiritual perfection. Krishna gives Arjuna, and he gives and all of us. He gives us the entire. Starts with karma yoga. He talks about working. He talks about he talks about meditation. He talks about finding a place to sit down and being in a secluded place, covering all the holes. So Krishna, he does that. When he's explaining something to us, he gives us the whole picture, and he always concludes with like, what's the essence? What's the essence? What's most practical? What's going to get us to the goal? What is the goal? What is the best goal to have? So because we don't even know that, prior to reading about Srimad Bhagavatam or reading Bhagavad Gita, we don't even know what the goal is. What are we even supposed to be thinking about? Or what should we even be trying to do with our life? What exactly is that? And so it's nice that we're taught everything. We're taught the whole background, and then we're also taught the ultimate thing that we should be doing, which, like we've been talking about, is ultimately always is devotional service, is just always trying to think about Krishna, serve his devotees. And as Yamuna was saying, the best process for that now in our current age is to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so by just continuing to chant, continuing to hear, what is it? Shravanam, Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, hearing and chanting, hearing and chanting again and again, that we're moving in the right direction. So again, I'm just very excited to be on this chapter. It's crazy to think that we're on the second canto. Guru Maharaj I think he read almost the entire first canto with us. It was probably just a few chapters that we had left that we switched the format. But yeah, we did the entire first canto. now reading through the second canto. We did the first 2 chapters. Now we're on the 3rd chapter. So very slowly but surely we're moving along with our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's very exciting. With that, it's 9:32 Eastern time. The one announcement that I know, or I don't know if Yamuna, if you want to make the announcement.
Well, I just want everybody to realize that, although we, the disciples of Manunatha Maharaja, are leading this discussion, that he indeed tunes into us, and he is indeed available to answer any questions that arise. We just need to submit them to him, because next week, February 14th, Friday, February 14th, we will be having our question and answer session with Manunatha Maharaja. So please submit questions. Submit them in written form in the chat, either personally to him or in the group chat in English, so that we can all see the questions. And he promises to address them next Friday. And, the questions can be from what we're reading, can be from any of his books, from like the little articles, the little clips. If you read it and the question occurs to you, please put it in writing, because he loves nothing more than to answer questions that he has about issues that he has addressed in his books. So, please think about questions and put them in writing, and join us next week for this tremendous question and answer session.
All right, thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Manunatha Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Vasindu Devacha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Hope to see everyone here next week with Guru Maharaj. Haribol, have a nice week.
Krishna.
You can stay, Dr. Fabian. I don't know. Guru Maharaj will need to turn off the recording. Let me contact him. Or better yet, we can leave and we'll come back on, not on Zoom, but on WhatsApp. Can you speak to me on WhatsApp for a minute? Yes?
Okay.
Okay. We close here.
I'll log out here on Zoom.
Yes, right. WhatsApp.
Hare Krishna.
Haribol.